The 3 Series. Historically, it's BMW's best-selling model, and I would say the consistent benchmark in its class when it comes to driving enjoyment. Now that often holds true for the high-performance models, all the way to the base model. But what makes it so good to drive? And is this facelifted G20 still worth your money? Let's find out. Now, my relationship with BMW and the 3 Series in particular is a personal one. I've owned a couple of older BMWs, and my current daily driver is an E90. Now, it's not an M3 or one of those 300 horsepower 335i's. It's just a regular entry-level 4-banger. But even in its least powerful form, it's still a lot of fun to drive. The same can be said of this facelifted G20 318i Sport. It's the least powerful variant of the 3 Series, but it's still a very engaging car to drive. We'll go in depth into why that is later. For now, let's talk about the styling changes to this facelift. Here at the front, the changes may seem very subtle, but a lot of this has actually been changed. Like the headlamps are different, they're narrower, they have a simpler design. The previous G20 had a notch down here, which is no longer present on this facelifted model. The grills have also been changed. These fins right here have a sharper angle. Here in the Philippines, we get 2 variants for the 318i. This one right here is the M Sport variant, and it gets this more aggressive looking front bumper. Since it's the M Sport variant, you also get an M badge down here. And that is a legit M badge from the factory, if anyone asks you about it. It gets 18-inch wheels wrapped in 225/45 series Michelin Pilot Sport tires. Here at the back, it gets a different bumper with this more aggressive looking diffuser. It gets dual exhaust tips. Like before, this also gets a power operated trunk. The 318i comes with BMW's B48 engine, which is a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that puts out 156 horsepower and 240 Newton meters of torque. It's coupled to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, most BMWs have a front mid-engine layout, which means that the engine is behind the front axle. If you look down there, the front of the engine is actually over here. This is just a cover. The front of the engine is over here, and it's right at the front axle, and the rest of the engine is behind the front axle. And that helps with the weight distribution. You don't have a lot of weight in front of the axle, which would affect your handling, and it moves the center of gravity further back, and that helps in achieving the car's 50-50 weight distribution. The battery of the car is in the trunk. You won't find it here at the front, but you can charge the battery using these terminals over here. My car also has the same setup. So your turbo is on this side, and a lot of your important plastics like your coolant hoses, your air conditioning pipes are all on the right side, so they're protected from the heat, and that should help improve the longevity of the engine. BMWs are known for their 50-50 weight distribution. They pay a lot of attention to the placement of components like the engine and the battery, so that the weight on the front tires is about the same as the weight on the rear tires. So the effect is that when you're cornering at a constant speed, the lateral forces on the front and rear tires are about the same, so you're less likely to oversteer or understeer. Of course, that distribution changes when you're braking or accelerating, but having that extra weight at the back makes a lot of difference, especially if you're coming from a front-wheel drive vehicle.
So the 3 Series has traditionally been a driver-oriented car, and you can see that reflected in the layout of the dashboard. Now almost everything here is angled towards the driver. The G20's interior looks premium, but in an understated kind of way. It is by no means flashy, but you know that you're in an expensive car. Almost everything that you can touch is covered in high quality materials. Like the top of the dashboard is soft touch. This over here is soft touch. You get leather wrapped sidings, and this over here is also soft touch. This is leather wrapped. The seats are covered in high quality leather.
The seats come with these extendable thigh supports. They support the weight of your leg so that the weight is not resting on your heels. And I find that on long road trips, it really does help a lot. It almost makes up for the lack of adaptive cruise control. The seats also come with adjustable bolstering, so whatever size you may be, the seats can hug you very tight so you don't sway side to side when you're cornering. On top of that, you also have 2-person memory settings.
The steering wheel is covered in supple leather. It gets paddle shifters. The steering wheel tilts and it also telescopes, and the adjustments are manual. You get buttons here for your screens. Now this 318i variant does not come with adaptive cruise control or ADAS. You also get these aluminum looking accents over here and also over here. And you get some piano black accents, but thankfully on non-high traffic surfaces. Now, almost everything here looks very similar to the pre-facelift 318i. The most noticeable difference are these screens over here. So this over here is a 14.9-inch infotainment screen, one of the biggest in its class. And right next to it is a 12-inch instrument cluster. And they're connected seamlessly, so it looks like you have one very wide screen in front of you. And it's also curved and it's angled towards the driver. The screens have very good resolution. You get Apple CarPlay, you get Android Auto. You also get a high resolution reverse camera with active guidelines. You don't get a 360 camera, but you do get sensors all around the car. You don't get physical knobs and buttons anymore for your climate control. Your controls are now on the screen. But I find that BMW's voice recognition is very good. So I can just say, hey BMW, I'm feeling warm right now.
Okay, I will increase the temperature. It will be more comfortable shortly. Let me know if it gets too warm for you.
Yeah, and it recognizes basic English. You don't have to memorize commands. So I don't miss the physical knobs and buttons as much. Down here you get a wireless phone charger. You get one USB-A port over here, one 12-volt outlet, and you get one USB-C port over here. You get an electronic parking brake without a hold. This tiny thing over here is your shifter. It may take some getting used to, but you'll eventually get used to it. I still prefer having a chunky lever though. In terms of storage, the glove box is decently sized. It is also dampened. You get a bit of storage underneath the armrest. It's not very deep, but it's wide and it's also long. You have enough space here to store water jugs and some loose items. Here at the back, space is quite good. They have about 4.5 to 5 inches of legroom. Headroom is also pretty decent. They have about 2 inches. I'm 5'8". You do get plenty of toys here. You get a third climate zone back here. You get 2 aircon vents and 2 USB-C ports. It also has a foldable armrest with 2 cup holders, although the plastic that they used here is a bit on the flimsy side. And like most BMWs, these seats get very good bolstering. Now, like most BMWs as well, this gets a very high center tunnel. Yeah, so it's not going to be very comfortable for the center passenger, but you can fit a third passenger here in a pinch if you really have to. So what makes the 3 Series really good to drive? Well, when you're in the city like this, it is very quiet. It feels very refined. The ride quality is good, even though it rides on 18s and it has run flat tires. You get a bit of attention from other people on the road if that's your thing, and you also get a bit more respect from other motorists. Like, they won't try to tailgate you as much. But you can also get those things in other luxury cars in the same class. I think what really sets the BMW 3 Series apart is that it's not just a luxury car, it's also an enthusiast's car. It's designed with performance in mind. And even this base 318i still has those characteristics.
I've driven more powerful front-wheel drive sedans here, but I dare say that this entry-level 3 Series is more fun to drive than a lot of them. The combination of good weight distribution, good suspension tuning, and the grippy Pilot Sport tires make the car feel like it's on rails.
The car is so well balanced. See, not a hint of oversteer. You don't feel the rear end going light. You don't feel the rear end going light when you're braking like that. It feels like you're in rails. Not a subtle hint of oversteer or understeer.
Now, I've been driving a lot of front-wheel drive cars lately, and the most noticeable difference for me is that under hard braking, especially on downhill hairpins, you don't feel the rear end getting too light, and you don't feel the nose dipping as much, which gives you confidence to tackle corners without fear of oversteer.
Steering feels precise. In sport mode, the ratio is relatively quick. And this ZF transmission is one of the best that I've tried on a car. Shifting is instantaneous. Shifting is instantaneous. Like if I downshift right now, it's almost instant.
The B48 has a twin scroll turbo, which basically eliminates turbo lag. The power is very predictable. There are no sudden spikes. It almost feels like a naturally aspirated engine. There's torque down low, there's torque up high, and can gradually roll on the throttle as you exit a corner, and it responds proportionally to your input. 0 to 100 is about 8.5 seconds, which is about the same as the Civic RS, which has more power. The 318i is one of the most fun non-sports cars that I've driven on this mountain road. It just has enough power to make the experience fun, but not scary. And as long as you're gradual with your throttle input, you're not likely to kick the rear end out accidentally. People have this misconception that Euro cars, especially German cars, are gas guzzlers. That is not true for the 318i. I was able to get 22 kpl on the highway and about 10 kpl in the city. One of my few complaints about the 318i is that it lacks adaptive cruise control. But then again, even the new C-Class doesn't have it. The BMW 318i Sport sells for 3.79 million pesos. It's about 100,000 pesos less expensive than the C-Class. Now surely you can get sports cars for the same money, which may be more fun to drive. But I think what makes the 3 Series deserving of the ultimate driving machine moniker is that it offers an unbeatable balance of luxury, practicality, comfort, and fun. And that is true for the fire-breathing M3 to this entry-level 318i.